Joining us now is political media strategist Mindy Finn, along, of course, Kevin and Scott are here as well. Mindy, who else needs to drop out? Who else do you think will drop out before we ever get to the first caucus and the first primary in New Hampshire?
Well, what we see is that candidates who have been polling in the 1–2% or very low single digits are those that have started to drop out, or those that are running out of money. That was Scott Walker's case. So we saw Bobby Jindal, we've seen George Pataki, Lindsey Graham. These are those who haven't been able to make it to the main stage in these debates. They've been relegated to the undercard debate and not really getting that primetime coverage. So the two that are really left in this undercard, consistently in the undercard, are Senator Rick Santorum and Governor Mike Huckabee. Interestingly enough, two gentlemen who previously won the Iowa caucus in 2008 and 2012, but they just have not gained traction this time. So I think we could see it really probably is time for them to drop out, even though they've been successful in the past and they may have the money. I think we may see that soon. You know, Rand Paul is somebody that many people expected to do a lot better, to be able to draw some libertarian support, and he just really hasn't at this point. The three gentlemen that really seem to have a path are Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz. Jeb Bush still obviously has a lot of money, and I think they're trying to make a case for a path. But it's just he's still polling in very low single digits. So unless something drastically changes, I don't see much of a path for him. So with the three gentlemen where there's a chance, really all the others have to be thinking, does it make sense to do this? And sometimes it does, because they're vying for a vice presidential slot or a cabinet post. It's not just about winning the presidency.
Scott Brown here. I think that was a great analysis, in that we have also, as you know, Santorum. We have Huckabee, as you referenced, potentially trying to stay in. How do you think they will ultimately make that decision? I.e., will they wait till Iowa and New Hampshire, or do you think they'll get out a little earlier and wait after the next debate?
Well, they don't really have that much to lose at this point, other than pride. So I think that most of these candidates will stay in through Iowa, and after Iowa, if they're getting a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place finish, it's just kind of embarrassing at that point, particularly if you were someone who won that caucus in the past. It would be very hard to raise money, and there really would be no point in staying in. So I think most will stay in through Iowa, but we will see many drop out after Iowa.
Hey, Mindy, it's Kevin Kelly here. So my question to you is, how big of a difference is the new states moving up their caucuses in March? How big of a difference is that going to play into this election cycle? Are we starting to see some reverberations of that happening now in the polls?
I think there is a big difference, partially that candidates are really having to spread their time of where they campaign. There was a really good piece yesterday about the role that Tennessee is playing, just because it's become such an important state politically. There's a strong Republican Party. The endorsements there are incredibly important. There's a lot of electoral votes at stake. So I think, after Iowa, after New Hampshire, after South Carolina, this race may not be very clear. But there's a good chance that after, the early March states, it will become quite clear and be consolidated to 1, 2, 3 candidates, and hopefully, for the sake of the Republican Party, around one electable nominee.
Mindy, I want to get into this because you see the attacks. It's not just we always point to Donald Trump. We see the attacks from him. He went after Ted Cruz again when he was in Iowa, talking about an evangelical from Cuba. But you've seen a step up. Now you see the establishment. You see the Marco Rubio getting attacked by Jeb Bush, and also Governor Chris Christie. There is an ad in Iowa by a super PAC supporting Jeb Bush, and also Chris Christie going after his record in the Senate. It just seems to me offbeat and off base. Who cares about his record in the Senate? And because Chris Christie now is drawing at least attacks on how long he's been spending in New Jersey. It just seems that every time that they try to go after Rubio or try to go after another candidate, with Jeb going after Trump, the punches don't land.
Well, for a lot of these attacks, so say if Christie is attacking Rubio, he's able to turn the table right back on Christie for the same issue. So I don't think they're so effective. I think what's also curious right now is that it's really Donald Trump versus the field. And so as opposed to going after Donald Trump, a lot of these guys are vying for that second, third place position in the field, and so they're attacking each other. But the result of that could be that none of them are successful, and Donald Trump just continues to soar. If they don't want to see that happen, they're really attacking the wrong people. And you have to wonder, is it an electoral strategy or is it about pride? I mean, the Jeb Bush attacks, for example, on Marco Rubio, Jeb's failings in this race, I like Jeb Bush, but he has just not done well. He has not met expectations, have not been about Marco Rubio. They've been about Jeb Bush's performance as a candidate. So you have to wonder sometimes, is this good strategy or is it really just about pride? And are they going to kind of wake up at some point and realize, can we consolidate? Can we, establishment, what does that mean these days? Sometimes you have to think it means being collegial. And so for the sake of being collegial and getting someone in that they think is qualified and will be effective, do they stop attacking each other and maybe set their sights on Donald Trump?
Mindy, one last thing. So it seems to be shaping up as kind of what will end up being a very nasty battle between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Donald Trump obviously saying, hey, you call me, you raise the issue of sexism, I'll go right after your husband, I'll go right after them. But he did, when he was asked last night if his own past is fair game, he went, yep. And I can only imagine at what we're going to hear in the coming months between those two. And is it effective? It's certainly effective for Trump, I think, at least in the primary battle, in the battle for the nomination, because Republicans don't like the Clintons.
Yeah, I think these attacks help Hillary Clinton with the Democratic base. They help Donald Trump with the Republican base. I don't think that they're ultimately the issues that will turn the election, but Donald Trump has to defend himself. And, with the sexism attack, Hillary Clinton is more vulnerable because she's centered her campaign on being a champion for women and really has this record of when her husband has, kind of preyed on his underlings, uses political power to do so, that she shamed them and ruined their reputation. And so she's more vulnerable on that attack.
Wall Street Journal editorial today, the Clinton war on women. If Hillary plays the sexism card, then Bill's behavior is fair game. It's a must read. Mindy, thank you so much for being here this morning. Mindy Finn for us from Washington.
Absolutely.
Be sure to